And he's like, let's fuck. Anyway.
It's a PG podcast here, Rose.
Okay, Daniel.
Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg Podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our savage take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/the SaVeg
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the SaVeg Podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
We've had a couple of drinks.
Well, Rose has.
We both have.
No, I have
thanks
as well.
to Daniel's idea.
Well, it's such a beautiful day today, guys, and I was like, you know what? We have to cherish these moments when we have them.
Therefore, we need to get drunk.
We're in a city that, the summer is fleeting, and it really
Summer is fleeting, guys. It's okay. Well, we are recording this early on. Okay, It is currently basically end of August. Because we are pre-recording our episodes, at least a couple of our episodes.
Why are we pre-recording, Rose?
Because apparently next week I'm going to Thailand and Vietnam.
So Rose is going to be MIA for about half the year, the rest of the
Can
year.
you stop? No.
No. But so what we've decided to do is, let me rewind for a second while I can still talk. In June, obviously, me and Rose were both gone on various different trips. So we took the whole month of June off. But we're like, we don't want to do that to you guys again. Like, we were like, that's not fair for our listeners. So we need to get our shit together. And we need to pre-record if we're going on these holidays. So the reason we're not doing, like, normally, obviously, you guys know we do like kind of current topical events, our take on them, what's happening. But we can't do that because it's not going to be that current at that time when this gets released in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yes.
So what we've decided to do is Rose came up with the creative idea. Well, she saw it on TikTok to do... there's like a thing called Am I the Asshole on Reddit.
There's a subreddit called Am I the Asshole, which in the last week's episode, you guys, if you guys listened to last week's episode, that was part 1. We're going to continue the Am I the Asshole
part 2.
Part
2.
So basically, it's like when people, if you guys haven't listened to last week's episodes, it's basically when people when people write into a subreddit.
They come in to talk
They come into the
panel.
forum.
Yeah.
And they basically write in like a story and they're like, hey, this is what happened to, me and this other person. Am I the asshole?
Yeah.
And people are they're basically the judge. Yeah. Okay. And they're like, you are the asshole or you're not the asshole.
And ironically, guys, and honestly, like just to digress for just a second on Am I the Asshole? Am I not the asshole? And also we're
having another drink.
Yeah. We're having a Vizzy.
A Vizzy.
Vizzy.
A hot seltzer.
Just to like digress for a second about like Am I the Asshole? The interesting thing, at least from last week when we read these, is like all of them were wedding related. I was like, not all of them.
They were relationship related.
Yeah, they're relationship, but a lot of them were wedding specific. And
there's a lot of drama.
Yeah. And I just from like personal experience and from whatever else, like weddings are very, very interesting events. And there always seems to be some sort of drama because you're bringing families together and like, a lot of people, even though that day is supposed to be about the couple that's getting married. So really there should be no drama because everyone should just be like, whatever the couple is doing, that's what's going to happen, But for some reason, I feel like a lot of people take it upon themselves to be like, you know what? It's not my wedding, but I am going to put my opinion on everything and tell you how it is.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I think you also have to understand that it in some ways, yes, but also they do expect the bride and it's not like it's an event that only the bride and groom are, preparing, right? Yeah. So we have like the bridal party and the groomsmen. Yeah. And so there is going to be drama. Sometimes the bride is the asshole. You know what I mean?
True.
Sometimes the groom is the asshole. You know, sometimes it's the bridesmaid. Sometimes it's the groomsman. Sometimes it's a family. Exactly. It's the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, the fucking brother-in-law.
Well, they say that a wedding isn't just a marriage of the two partners. It's the marriage of families.
At least that's how traditionally I think that's how it was seen, especially in like certain cultures. I don't know how it was. What about in Western culture? Do you think that was the case even in Western cultures?
I think so a little bit because it's like you now have like or part of that family as well. You know what I mean? Like it's like
in a way, but not as much.
Not as much, no.
Yeah, basically in like I know in Korean tradition, it was very much it's like you are literally marrying into the family, especially if you're like the woman, you are literally becoming the part of the other family.
Yeah. Well,
like, you no longer have your birth family.
Exactly. Well, and think about like Indian Matchmaker as well. It was very much that.
Oh God. It's my worst fucking nightmare.
It is.
And as in marrying into another person's family is the worst thing. I'm sorry.
Well, because that's going to bring it its own. Every family has its own quirkiness, its own things that are going on.
Which, you know what? I don't mind. Of course, I think it could be a beautiful thing, you know, having another family. But I think it's that expectation that it's like, oh, now you're like part of this family. Like everything, everyone has to be so involved in everyone's life.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's so, and then they have certain expectations, and you're not allowed to behave a certain way. Did you start watching Indian Matchmaker season 2?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, my plan
everyone's
is to watch
talking about it.
My plan is to watch it all on the plane.
Oh, you're gonna have an enjoyable flight.
Oh, I know.
I'm literally
gonna download everything.
I can picture Rose on the flight now, just being like, all of a sudden, it's like a quiet plane, and Rose just being.
I'm gonna bring like my own little popcorn.
Yeah,
it's gonna be such a good time. I mean, I'm gonna enjoy it.
I have heard that there's appearances from all of our favorite characters.
Aparna?
So
all of our favorite.
Aparna's in there.
Who else?
I think Nadia's in there.
Oh, I forgot all their names.
Me Too Shaker or something. I think he's in there. So a lot of familiar faces apparently.
Oh, I want a Aparna part 2.
And of course, our favorite person, the Indian matchmaker herself, is there as well.
The one that did not succeed in matchmaking anybody in the first season.
I honestly, guys, one of the things I was loving was the YouTube comments that was like, when it was like India's top matchmaker who literally matched no one this entire season. Like, it was quite funny.
I wonder what her actual success rate is.
Yeah, I bet you. I would imagine, like, the thing is, take away, like, because a lot of it, there was like Western people that were like living in, like, Indian people living in Western society, all that. I would imagine, like, I feel like in India, and I could be wrong, guys, completely wrong, but I feel like her success rate might be a bit more.
Yes.
Because there's those extra pressures, right?
Exactly.
It's like you have the family pressure. Whereas in like Western culture, it's more like very much a love match. Yes. And people don't care so much about all the other stuff.
Yes.
Like, it's
You're probably right. Because I think, yes. Because arranged marriage, for example, in India is still, I think it's still a thing. It's maybe not as big of a thing.
Yeah.
And they marry a lot based on, again, they're marrying into the family. They marry a lot based on, the class of whoever,
who the family
the cast.
is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as long as those things match, it's like people are less, worrisome about all of the little things, which, you know what, in some ways it's beneficial because they say that, in Western society, we have such a hard time, finding a mate because we're so picky sometimes, or
accurate.
We have certain expectations. Are you looking at me, Daniel? I think you should look in a mirror. Anyway, we have certain expectations, and we want certain things. Whereas, like in India, they kind of like almost they are open to the idea of just marrying someone based on these credentials and then building a foundation.
But I do think from when we watched it last time, it seems like the younger generation now,
it's different.
That's becoming different. Like we saw that one guy, I can't remember what his name was, but like he was very much looking for like a love match.
Right.
And it's becoming harder for them.
Yeah. And there was that one guy that was probably a homosexual.
The watch guy.
Yeah. What do you think happened with that man?
He can make really good cocktails, all this
stuff. He would make a great gay husband.
I know. Hey,
he was cute.
He was very good looking. I was like, hey, come over. Like,
seriously, I just
moved to Calgary. I'm single.
If the society becomes more, open to the homosexual relationship.
Oh, that could be years, Rose.
It could be years. It could be many years.
Even in Canada, we're not fully open
this is true.
yet. So,
this is true.
These things.
Anyways, so I guess I'm going to watch Indian Matchmaking on the flight.
Yep.
Stay tuned. Maybe we'll do an episode.
Damn.
Oh my, we should totally do an episode.
I think we should.
We've never done one before.
I don't think we have. We've done it on like Love is Blind. We've done 2 episodes of Love is Blind.
Have we spoken on?
We definitely talked about it for sure.
We should definitely do an episode. I mean, hopefully it's just as entertaining as the first season.
I feel like the thing is, it's hard because the first season really set the bar because you didn't know what to expect, and then you watch it and you're like, what the fuck is going on? But I feel like it might still be good.
I hope so. So yeah, Indian Matchmaking, I'm going to watch that on the flight. And then what else should I watch? I'll finish watching The Attorney Woo.
I haven't even started that yet. I need to watch it.
Can you please watch it? It's so good, Daniel.
How many episodes would it be?
There's 16, I think, total.
God damn, it'd be a long ass season.
But that's not that crazy.
True.
Okay? It's not, it's not fucking Game of Thrones, okay? It's one season. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Anyway. It's very good. Okay. I'm still only like, I've been watching like one episode at a time, so it's not crazy. Anyway, I'll finish that on the plane too. Anyway, guys, as we are drinking our Vizzies, should we do a little cheers?
We should. Cheers, guys.
Oh God, you guys, I'm already drunk. I've had 2 drinks. Guys, I can't drink anymore.
As you take another sip.
Oh, as in like my body. I was so hungover the other day. Oh my
yeah,
God.
because didn't you have like a party at your house or something?
Yeah, I had like a dinner party, guys. Dinner parties
I
are my
wasn't
jam.
invited. Mm-hmm.
It was a girls' night. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Would you like to be invited to girls' night next time?
Actually, I wouldn't.
I think I might start inviting you.
No, actually, don't. I would rather not.
It's a good time, Daniel. I think you should be invited. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, and I felt like I wasn't drinking that much, but the next day, my head was exploding.
But did you just drink wine?
Mostly wine.
That would be why.
Yeah, but that's what I usually drink. I know. It's never a good idea. Anyway, mostly wine. And then my head was exploding. I felt like death. And I did nothing all day.
Goddamn.
Anyway. So we're back on Am I the Asshole?
Okay.
Subreddit. This is such a good time. If you guys haven't listened to last week's episode, you have to listen to it.
It is actually fun. Like, I actually love these.
So basically, we're going to take turns picking the one that we're going to read. And we're going to decide who is the asshole.
We were going to read it out. Have a little debate. There was an interesting one last week where we were like, actually, this is a tough one. Like, who is actually the asshole in this situation? But most of them, it's pretty like straight
literally,
line.
there was only one where we were like, we're not sure.
Yeah.
But then everything else was like literally the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
Like, who is the asshole? Anyway, I'm just going to pick one of the top ones. Okay? Am I the asshole for speaking Italian to my girlfriend's rude Italian-American family and embarrassing them? What the fuck?
Okay, let's read it out, Rose.
There may have been... Oh, no. ETA. What the fuck? Okay, you know what? I feel like this person, like, edited. Anyway, okay. Recently, I started dating a girl. She's great, and I love her so much. I met her family a few nights ago for dinner. She warned me that the male side of her family is very big into being macho, into testing the boys the women date, and are very big on taking pride in their Italian ancestry. We know how those Italians are.
Yes.
The traditional Italian family.
Yeah.
I think besides the grandfather, however, they were almost all born in Bergen County, New Jersey, but whatever. It's nice to take pride in one's heritage. So it's a very Italian-American family.
Yeah.
Long story short, at dinner, they kept making jokes at my expense. I honestly would not call it bullying, just things about... No. Yeah, I honestly would not call it bullying, just things about my height, beard, shaved head. They tried making fun of my IT job too, but stopped once I told them my income. It was overall not a bad experience. Yeah, don't make fun of an IT dude. They make lots of money.
Oh my God, exactly.
And they're smart, man.
Exactly. And some of those IT nerds, like bring them my way.
I'm all for the IT nerd.
Yeah, hello.
It was overall not a bad experience, but not so pleasant. Anyways, her older brother kept pushing things, giving me exceptional amounts of shit for playing lacrosse in high school.
Why? I don't get this.
Apparently, it's a sport for prissy rich kids and not manly like football or baseball.
That's a joke.
The toxic masculinity.
Yes.
He ended his rant by saying, "Hey, we're just a big Italian family. We're loud and tell it how we see it. Ha 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 ha." And all the family except my girlfriend laughed. So I, for the next minute, responded to everything they said in Italian. My girlfriend buried her head in shame. The grandfather laughed, and everyone kept looking at each other confused before telling me they didn't speak Italian. I responded, then don't use your Italian heritage as an excuse to behave poorly when you can't even speak the language.
Oh, shit.
They got mad, but the grandfather told them that I was right and to be quiet. My girlfriend wasn't mad, just ashamed. I think the grandfather likes me, but word from GF's sister is that all the men are furious and think I'm a smartass and that I disrespected them and their masculinity in an unforgivable way. Am I the asshole?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thoughts?
So much to unpack here.
What's your initial thought?
My initial thought is I don't think he's necessarily the asshole.
Not the asshole, in my opinion.
No. But
he's a little bit of a smartass.
Definitely a smartass. I think he is a smartass, but at the same time, I don't think he's necessarily the asshole. Because
they were being an asshole first.
Exactly. And they're saying, we're this big Italian family and all this stuff. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to try to fit into this big Italian family. I'm going to start responding to everything in Italian.
Yeah.
Because I guess he's fluent in Italian, which is amazing. And like, it's just priceless that, they're very much like, but at the same time, I think that there's a lot of people or, families that maybe grew up here that are part of, like, for example, I'm sure there's like some people that are from Korea that, you know, their parents maybe immigrated here. They were born here in Canada.
Yeah.
They still have much elements of the Korean culture.
Sure.
Like still like embrace a lot of things, but maybe they don't speak Korean.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not like, I don't know, but
Korean.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. I think in this case, I think they were probably being assholes, so he's justified in what he did. Especially when they kept using the Italian thing as like this, you know, excuse to be kind of like assholes.
Yeah. But that's so golden.
And also, I think they could have been cool about it, right? Like, oh, he speaks Italian. Oh, they could be like, oh my God, you speak Italian. Like that's cool.
Amazing. Yeah.
Like, did you not pick up on the fact that he spoke Italian? Like, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, I would have done that maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe
instead of being like, oh, he's an asshole, he's a smart ass, you know.
But yeah, you're right. It is like, I mean, I think there is a specific Italian American culture though.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because, you know, like for example, there's definitely like a Korean American culture. Like in, you know, in LA, there's like a bunch of Korean Americans, and I don't even know if most of them speak English, in Korean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they also have that like kind of Korean background. So they do identify as Korean, but it's different from Korean culture.
Yeah.
It's more like
such an interesting. It's this stuff is fascinating,
right?
Because you know, especially nowadays that our world is just so global and so like people move around all the time, and you have all these like first generation, second generation, third gen. You know what I mean? In different cultures and everything, and like it just makes for a very interesting society and makeup. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and you're right. Like just having these like subsets. Like you're right. I know for a fact, like especially around New York, New Jersey kind of area, there's a lot of like Italian heritage.
Exactly. It's like The Godfather. You know.
Exactly. It's all in like media. It's all in all kinds of stuff. Like, and in like all these, you know, I think in Boston as well. Like there's like a big Italian presence. But you're right. It's interesting to see like, you know, second or third or fourth generation where, you know, maybe they don't speak the language. Maybe they, you know, they might say like they're still Italian heritage and ancestry, but, you know, maybe they don't know a lot of things.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of like veered off topic, but it's interesting.
Sort of.
Yeah, because, well, again, I think, there's specific Italian culture, and it's probably very different from Italian American culture, which I'm sure there's similarities in the, you know, potential toxicness, maybe.
Toxic
I don't
masculinity.
know. Yeah.
This toxic masculinity is so prevalent in so many cultures, though.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's like Korean. All Asian cultures, probably.
But a lot of like, everywhere, like South America,
literally
Central
everywhere.
America.
Literally
like,
everywhere.
I'm like, oh, God.
You know, there's certain cultures where it's like women, it's like a matriarchy.
Which culture is a matriarchy?
I don't know. There's like, I remember seeing some kind of documentary somewhere in Asia. I think it was somewhere in Asia. They looked Asian. Maybe it was like in China or something.
Yeah.
China has a lot of cultures. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was definitely some place where, it was like a matriarchy where it's like women rule everything.
Are you moving there, Rose? I
mean, there's also places where when women are like, I saw, again, another random YouTube video.
Yeah.
Where women, they like fat women. So it's like, if the fatter you are, the more likely you're going to get married.
Because you're healthy and you're not healthy, but
maybe that's one of
you're wealthy because you can eat a lot of food.
Yeah,
you can
or
like
something. Like,
yeah. And
then I remember there was like a woman that wasn't like, you know, that was like skinny. She wasn't skinny, but she was like, you know, like, you know, average weight. And she was like, I'm having a hard time finding a husband. Because like she would, and then like the fat lady was like getting all these guys. I was like, damn, I'll move there and eat whatever I want.
God damn. I will recognize you next time I see you.
God damn.
Anyway. But yeah, going back to this, am I the asshole?
I don't think he was the asshole. He was a smart ass, but not an asshole.
I don't think so either. And I also think like, I'm sorry, but like the girlfriend, like if your family, I'm not saying your family should be like right away. Like I would hope, what am I trying to say here, guys? I would hope. We're kind of
drunk.
Yeah. I would hope that like when I bring my partner to meet my family, like they are going to be welcoming to my partner.
That's the thing.
For the most part, like they're not going to be
so fucking annoyed.
Yeah, if they're like dicks and like being like real assholes,
but
I would be like,
oh my God, I'm just Italian American. Like what the fuck?
But I do love the fact that they kept leaning on that, and then exactly. So he's like, you know what, you're Italian American. I must speak Italian to you.
Exactly.
Oh, you're so Italian American, you don't speak Italian.
Exactly.
Come on, guys. And actually, this is something that I think is really, really important. Like, and I obviously like I'm British. Like I just speak English. Like I speak a little bit of Spanish, but like I don't really have a second language. And I think especially like this just highlights like the importance though. Like if you have kids and you're like Italian or whatever culture you might be, and let's say you're first generation or maybe second generation, I think there's like something to be said about like making sure that your kids like learn the language.
To try to, yeah. It's definitely easier said than done, I think.
Of course, yeah.
But yes, I'm a firm believer in that.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, I'm so happy that my parents, because I remember when I was young, I had moved here when I was in grade 8,
mm-hmm.
or not grade 8, when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because at the time in this city, there weren't that many Koreans here.
Yeah.
It's a very small Korean community. And
it's a lot bigger now, isn't it?
It's a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember we like used to go to church,
mm-hmm.
and definitely don't go there anymore. Anyway, we used to go to church, and there would be kids there that have, they haven't been here that long either. Around my age, maybe a little younger, sometimes a bit older. And at that time, I remember my parents would force us, like 'cause me and my brothers, they made us speak Korean at home.
Yeah.
They were like, you have to speak Korean at home. Outside of home, you can speak English, whatever.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is when you're that age, you learn languages so fast that you do not need to, because I think a lot of parents think like, oh, they need to learn English quickly so you can speak English at home.
Yeah.
And outside.
Yeah.
And that's a big mistake, because at that age, when you are like, let's say below the age of 10, it is very easy to learn a language, but it's also very easy to forget a language.
Yeah.
So so thank God my parents actually forced us to speak the Korean language, because when you're that age, you also want to fit in with everybody. So you want to speak English at home because you think that's cool or whatever.
Yeah.
But we all still speak Korean, maybe not perfectly, but we all still speak Korean, and we can communicate with our parents. Whereas a lot of kids at that same age came here same time. They completely forgot Korean.
That's amazing.
Almost
so
completely.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they weren't here that much longer than we were. But because they speak English at home with their siblings, they completely forgot Korean.
But I guess it makes sense because in my mind, though, I was thinking like, holy shit, like, especially if they moved here when they were like 8, 9 years old, you would think it would be firm. Like, I
know, you would think, but I think your brain is still kind of like malleable.
Yeah.
That's why it's so easy for you to learn a language, but it's also just as easy for you to forget the language.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I was like fluent in English in like 6 months. Imagine being fluent in a language in 6 months.
That's crazy.
So that means it's that easy to forget a language as well.
No, that makes sense. That actually makes sense.
So thank God my parents like forced us to speak Korean at home,
yeah,
because otherwise I think I could have easily forgotten Korean. And the sad thing is the parents don't really speak English very well. So I don't even know how they really communicate with their parents, because if they forget Korean and if the parents don't speak English, it's like I think some of them understand Korean, so when they speak they can understand.
That was an interesting thing, because like a couple of my friends were like Chinese or Vietnamese, and like they couldn't really speak it, but they could understand it perfectly. So like they're
just very interesting.
I know, it's like weird. Like their mom would speak to them in like Vietnamese or like
I don't
whatever,
understand
and then
this.
they would like respond in English.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I know, it's
but I guess
weird.
it like works. But then I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, especially like obviously like I've never had this situation because me and my parents have always just spoken English. Yeah. But like for example, if you get into like a heated debate or something with your parents,
that's the thing.
It's like, how can you possibly do that if you don't speak the same language?
I know. I don't get it. I don't really understand.
Yeah. That's like, it's like a lot of my friends, like one of my really good friends is Polish, but she actually was born here in Canada.
Right.
But her parents like were like very adamant that she went to Polish school here.
Yes.
So even though she hated it, like every Saturday she had to fucking go to Polish school.
But she probably thanks them now.
Yeah. Because she's perfectly fluent.
See, that's the thing. It's like, I think people don't realize, like, if you're living in Canada, your kids are going to speak English.
No matter what.
You don't have to do anything extra.
No.
They're going to go to school. They're going to absorb the language unless they have maybe some learning disabilities. But even then, they're probably going to still
learn it
and speak it better than any other language, because it's literally going to be the natural language that they speak.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to force anything on them. What you have to force is the other language.
Exactly.
Because it's very difficult. So.
But that's why I think it's so it's like,
honestly, thank God.
I look back and like this is something that I might change, like if I ever have kids.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe my kids are going to hate me for this, but like, for example, like I remember I reached a point in school where they like asked me if I wanted to do like full French immersion or if I wanted to go through the English program. And at the time, all my friends were going to the English program. So I'm like, of course I'm going to do the English program. Yeah. But if that option ever comes to my kids, I'm going to be like, it's not an option.
The French immersion?
You're doing the French immersion.
I did French immersion.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, sorry, you're going to have to go through. Yeah.
I mean, French is hard though. Fucking hell.
It's a tough language.
It's a tough language.
Yeah.
It's you know what? I'm going to complain about the French language for a second.
Oh, God damn. We got some French listeners.
No, listen. Here's the thing. I'm sure our French listeners are very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens is French people as a general, like I'm stereotyping, very seriously stereotyping, but it is kind of true that because French people are very proud of their language, which they should be, and they're very proud. It's hard for other people to learn French
because if it's not pronounced perfectly,
yes,
they're like
often. Because I remember when I was in Paris, I was trying to, practice my French, and I get very shy about it. And already, you should. The thing is, I know, I'm very shy with languages because I feel like I feel stupid when I speak the language and I don't know how to speak it properly.
That's why you need to get drunk.
If I'm drunk, there's no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel very. I don't know. I don't like feeling stupid. Like I don't like feel. I know it's not. I shouldn't feel stupid, right? Like I'm obviously learning a language.
Exactly.
That's why people that are shameless when they learn a language, they learn it very quickly.
Like me. No.
Probably, Daniel.
That's probably why with Spanish I was like shameless. Like I was like,
no, that's
so
how you
bad.
learn a language though, because honestly, that's how you develop and that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And when I was in Paris, I was trying to speak French and I would talk to people on the street and like try to ask them stuff, and they're just like, "Oh, I speak English."
Yeah.
And they just won't let me practice.
I know. It was funny because like I remember when I was backpacking through Central America and I had this situation. So when I was in Central America, I took like a crash course where I lived with a family and took Spanish for like 3 weeks.
That's perfect.
It was amazing. But when I was in this small town and I had to go get school supplies for this course that I was taking. So like, hey, I'm going to go to the local like little shop or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was trying to like order things in Spanish. And I was like speaking to the guy behind the counter and stuff. And my Spanish at that time was really bad, like really bad. And he immediately was like, I speak English. And I was like, that's great. I appreciate that you speak English, but I'm trying to learn Spanish. So I'm like, let me speak Spanish to you. And he was like, rolled his eyes. But I was like, fuck it. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway.
That's really like annoying. That's the thing. It's like people are trying to, because I always say this example because I lived in Italy for, 6 months and my Italian is nowhere near, how much education I got with French.
Yeah.
But I actually feel more comfortable trying to speak Italian.
It's because some countries, and I feel like Italy would be the same.
Italy, you say one word in Italian, and they are gonna, they're gonna literally have a full conversation with you in Italian. And I'm gonna stand there like a fucking,
It's so funny because I also feel like, and this is like very like this my same experience when I lived in Spain in Europe, but also when I backpacked through Central America. Like the Spanish Latino people, like
they will speak to you fully in Spanish,
and they love it. They love that you even try. They're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Even though half the time I'm like, no entiendo, like I don't understand.
They think you're so great for trying.
Exactly, and they're like, oh my god, like this is amazing. Like you're actually engaging with us, and maybe their level of English is like not great. Like I went on a few dates in Spain actually.
Did you?
Yeah, randomly, and a couple of the guys that I went out with, like they didn't speak. They spoke a little bit of English.
That's like kind of my fantasy.
Yeah.
To like go on a date with someone that doesn't fully speak English.
Yeah. I've been there. I've lived your fantasy, Rose.
Oh, you've lived my fantasy.
But like I went on a couple dates and one of the guys, really nice guy, super good looking actually. And we went on this date and he was like,
you love a Spanish man.
Oh, I really do. Spanish men, holler at me. No, but we went on this date and I just remember like, and my Spanish is not great, guys. Like I'm not like, I can't have political conversations or anything like that. It's like very like bare basics.
That's what makes it kind of hot. It's like there's like lost in translation.
Oh, it was fun. And I remember having this conversation and then he was like telling me, he was like complimenting my Spanish. Like, no, your Spanish is really good, blah, 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 blah. And then I said, well, if you prefer, we could switch to English. And he's like, no. Let's keep speaking Spanish. So I was like, okay, cool.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then we ended up back in my place.
And he's like, let's fuck. Anyway,
it's a PG podcast here, Rose.
Okay, Daniel, let's do the next.
Well,
we
really
went off on a tangent, so you pick one, Daniel.
God damn.
Well, that's what the podcast is about. It's about having a conversation. Conversations always end up in random places that we didn't know. Oh, you picked one already.
I did, yeah.
Good.
I picked a top one.
Okay.
I'm
very excited. Is it about a wedding?
No. Am I the asshole for refusing to punish or allow my wife to punish our son?
Oh, interesting. I love it.
Yeah. This all started back in March. My son's best friend turned 13. In his family, a 13th birthday was a huge deal. In addition to a massive party, which all four...
A bar mitzvah.
Apparently, which all four of us were invited to, his parents also took him to Disney World.
Wait, this is his son's friend?
Yeah, son's friend. His parents also took him to Disney World. They invited my son to attend as well. My wife was hesitant to consent to this. She said it was unfair to allow our son to go when our 9-year-old daughter can't. especially since she loves Disney and princesses. I said that our kids won't always have the exact same opportunities, and if we set a precedent here, we'll have to stick to it, and when our daughter gets a similar opportunity, we'll have to stick to it and do the same when our daughter gets a similar opportunity. Yeah. So we'd just be punishing both our children needlessly. My wife reluctantly agreed that we should allow our son to go. I gave our son money to buy his sister souvenirs. He did, and his friend's parents even bought extra stuff for him to give to her as well. Still, when she saw him come back wearing a Star Wars shirt with a Mickey hat and a trading pin lanyard, she burst into tears. My wife later said we made a huge mistake and never should have let him go. I, mistakenly, thought all of this was behind us. Now, we are not well off financially, but my brother-in-law. I was like, Bill.
Yeah, I don't know these terms. Okay,
but my brother-in-law is, and he invited us to visit his beach house he rented for a summer send-off. My wife told me she wants to have our son stay with my dad and just take our daughter to or even the score. I told my wife that isn't happening. We are their parents. We can't favor one child over the other.
Wait. Continue.
Not being invited to a birthday trip of a kid you barely know is in no way compared to being left out of a family vacation.
Agreed.
And I'm shocked that she would even suggest such a thing. I refuse to allow it. Now my wife is angry, but I don't care. I'm not punishing my
She wanted to not include the son because he got to go to Disney. Okay, yes. Continue.
So basically, that's the whole thing. Yeah. So basically, she didn't want to include the son because he went to Disneyland. She said, look, their brother-in-law has invited the whole family to the beach house or whatever that he has. And she was like, no, our son will go stay with his grandparents and we'll all go with our daughter.
Is she crazy? He is not the asshole. She is the fucking asshole.
I know. And I think...
Are you insane?
I know.
Who are these parents?
I know. I think honestly, guys, the way I know this is crazy. The way I look at it though is we are all going to have different experiences, right? Like if I have two kids and my one son is friends with this person and this person is like his best friend is like, hey, my whole family's going to Spain. We want you to come with us because you're my best friend. I'm going to invite you. I'm not going to be like, oh, you have to bring my daughter.
Exactly.
Like she doesn't even know them. Like, I'm like, cool. Like you have fun. Just like she might have friends that she does stuff with. Mm-hmm. But then if we do stuff as a family, where you can be inclusive or uninclusive is when the decision ultimately of where you're going is yours, right? Like, for example, like if you're like, hey, our family, we're going to do a vacation in France, you are consciously bringing both your children.
Exactly. You can't just be like, oh, you're not going to come because you didn't go to Disneyland with this random dude that your brother's friends with. I know.
It's kind of crazy.
People like...
I don't get it. Like, I'm just like, what?
This is insane.
Yeah.
That she even suggested such a thing.
I know. She's like, oh, well, because he got to go to Disneyland and you know, she didn't get to go. And then now we're being invited to this family vacation. So now he'll have to stay behind.
How old is this girl?
I'm like, what the fuck?
How old is his daughter? Hold on.
They must be young because like she's like...
The son was 13 or his friend was turning 13.
Yeah. So
I assume the daughter was a bit younger.
Yeah.
Can't you explain it to your daughter? Like this is part of life. Okay.
Exactly.
You can't just expect to be invited to everything. Yes, it sucks when somebody gets to go on a trip that you can't go to, but that's part of life.
Exactly.
You can't go everywhere that you want to go to.
Exactly. You're gonna have to sometimes say no, and sometimes you're not gonna get to go on those excursions. And like the way that I feel like as a parent, like if I was ever a parent, the way that I feel like I could be fair to my kids is like when we're doing stuff as a family, we're going together. Do you know what I mean? Like that's my conscious choice. I'm not gonna do a trip with just one of my kids and leave the other one behind. But when it comes to trips outside of that, and it's like their school is doing a trip or their friend is doing a trip or their company that they work for is doing a trip. Well, guess what? You don't get to go on it. Like it's even like now, like it's like as we're adults now.
You're not entitled to every trip.
Exactly. Like it's crazy.
Like, I'm sorry. What the fuck? This is what I mean. It's like, it's so obvious. I don't know. Like it's insane. Like the first comment, again, it's like, the first comment is not the asshole. Your wife sounds like she has a clear favorite out of the two kids.
It sounds like she definitely
isn't afraid to show it. Of course, your son should go on vacation with you all. I'm shocked that she would want him to miss out. Yeah. That's awful. Is she always this unkind to him? Exactly. Like it's insane.
It almost makes me think of that sad story about that adopted child.
Oh my God.
Last episode?
Guys, if you guys listened to the last episode, there was like a there was a kid that was adopted
into a family. They had 4 kids. I think it was 4, and then they had an adopted kid. For their 4 biological children, paid for all of their university, all their college, their living costs. For one of them, they bought a condo, and then when the adopted child was like getting ready to go to college, they turned around and were like, by the way, we can't afford to pay for your college.
It's fucking
I was
crazy.
like, are you and this was in the States, guys, where college is super expensive. So like
expensive.
I'm sorry, if you're gonna pay for 4 of them, you can pay for all of them.
Some of these make me so mad.
But you know what? That was like the thing back in the day. You know, like my grandma was telling me, like, because she was born into a family of 4, 2 girls and 2 boys.
The boys got to go.
The boys, their tuition and everything was paid for school. And my grandma, that was never an opportunity for her.
I mean, that happened.
But that was standard back then.
I mean, it's fucked up. It shouldn't happen. But the same thing happened with my dad's family.
Yeah, because the mentality is like, okay, like for example, if me and you were siblings back in the day, the mentality would be like, okay, Rose is going to get married into a family,
exactly,
and to a man and into his family, and they're going to take care of her.
Exactly.
Daniel has to get a good job so he can get a wife.
Exactly.
To marry.
That's the difference. I mean, it's fucked. Don't get me wrong.
Little did they know I'm a homosexual.
Little did they know there ain't no wife.
There ain't no wife. I'll be the wife. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, same thing with my dad's family. Like all my aunts, like they didn't get to go to university.
Yeah,
but my dad.
But that was the culture then too, right? Like,
I know, like it's fucked. I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah.
But again, at the time, as also it was like, you know, people were poor and they couldn't afford anything, and I think even like most of my aunts didn't even graduate like high school.
Yeah.
Because at the time, again, they got married, like some of them married at 17.
Exactly. And I think the thing is too is like you can try to be as fair as you can to your kids to the most part, but at the end of the day, each of your kids are going to go on such different journeys, right? So like, for example, you could say like, I think for example, if you're going to pay for a kid's tuition, like, or save to pay for your kid's tuition, you should offer to pay for each kid's tuition. Do you know what I mean? Or budget so that you can maybe contribute a little bit to each of them. But some of them might not end up going to university. Some of them might take a different journey, you know? So it's kind of hard to plan. But like, I do feel like for certain things like tuition and that kind of stuff, like if you're willing to pay for everything for one child, you should be willing to pay if that other child goes to university. Yes. You should be ready to front that as well.
I think those parents, they were definitely playing favorites.
Oh, 100%. Like all of their biological kids, no worries. You don't even have to work. You can just, I'll pay your living costs. Like that's like,
I would be so fucking mad.
I know. I'm like, okay, at least like they can get a job and pay for their rent.
I just feel like if I'm not in this situation, so I don't know, but if I had 4 biological children and 1 adopted child, I almost feel like I would overcompensate with the adopted child because I would feel like they would feel extra shitty. Yeah. Right? Because they're the one child that's adopted. So I almost would overcompensate. I think that's what I would probably do because I want them to feel like they're still part of the family. Yeah. Right? Because I think naturally they're already going to feel like they're not part of the family. It just makes me so sad that someone would treat their kid like this.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Don't adopt kids if you're not willing to treat them equally as your other kids.
But that's just it, right? Like unless you're gonna treat them the same, like you can't just like adopt a child and treat them as like a second class.
It makes me so fucking mad. Yeah. Okay, I just randomly picked one.
Okay, let's hear it, Rose.
It's very random. Am I the asshole for expecting my girlfriend to pay for her stay at my family's cabin? My grandparents own a big old cabin where every generation after them have enjoyed annual family vacations. Due to the cabin's age, there is constant maintenance that needs to be done. Every time we've replaced, fixed, or repaired something, there is another thing that needs fixing. We also started slowly renovating the cabin as the interior has become quite dated as well. These costs have become too much for my grandparents to handle alone, especially since their age means they can't do much of the work themselves, and they need to hire professionals instead. This has caused them to implement a fee system. The rule is as follows. Every person from the age of 20 years old need to pay an annual fee to be allowed to stay at the cabin. The size of the fee varies as it is calculated according to how many people plan on using the cabin and how big the upkeep costs were to the previous year.
God damn, they're very mathematical, calculating this on an Excel spreadsheet or some shit.
And how big the upkeep costs. I've happily paid this fee ever since the rule was implemented. And so have my parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. Every summer, my extended family tries to find a weekend during the summer where most of our vacations overlap so that we can all meet at the cabin to catch up. I decided to invite my girlfriend along as I wanted to introduce her to this tradition, as she is someone I'm imagining spending many future summers at the cabin with.
Maybe
she
getting
was
married.
Maybe. She was maybe not after this. She was ecstatic about the idea of meeting my extended family and going to the cabin, as she's very curious about it after hearing me talk about it a lot. Naturally, I sat her down and told her the rule and how she needed to pay as everyone else paid, and it was only fair for her to do so as well, since she would be using the cabin when coming with me this year. This year's fee is around $200 to $400, depending on how many people use the cabin, due to the big roof leak and some pretty substantial water damage. The idea of paying this fee really upset her, and we had a big argument where she concluded with saying she would make other plans without me this summer. The rule is very simple and made completely fair on everyone. I don't understand why she thinks she should be exempt from it. My brother told me I should just pay her fee for her, as my extended family would really like to meet her. But I really don't think that's fair for me to pay the double fee when she's completely capable of paying it herself. Am I the asshole?
Ooh, this is a tough one.
It is a little bit tough. It's not
straight. It's not black and white, guys. Like, I don't know, like, because part of me is like, okay, this is like their family tradition. This is like what they do. But then part of me is like, this was not her first choice as a vacation. He's inviting her to the family cabin.
Actually, I've decided he's the asshole. Because
tell us, Rose. Tell us why.
It's not her fault. The reason why they're paying is because the cabin is old.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, right? They're helping their grandparents.
Yeah.
She is this new person that he is. I'm assuming she's new. I don't know. She's this new person that he's dating, and he wants her to stay there.
Yeah.
It's his family.
Exactly. And also it's his choice. Cause like, for example, like if my partner was like on our vacation, he had this tradition that he did with his family. They always go there, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I am asking for our vacation that I want you to go there, even though that's probably not my first choice.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to go to Portugal. Maybe I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I really want you to come and I want you to meet my extended family.
You.
Exactly. You've invited me to your cabin. I'm thinking, okay, cool. Like,
yeah,
I'll split the gas cost with you on the way up.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and this fee is kind of like, it's
arbitrary.
Exactly. It's not like a normal fee, right?
Exactly.
It's based on how old this house is.
And it's based on like the maintenance they need to do in this house.
Exactly. Which is kind of like, come on.
It would be different if it was, it would be completely different if they were like renting an Airbnb or something. Do you know what I mean? Like
that's different.
This is like, and they chose to go there. But like, if you're being invited to your partner's cabin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of like.
Again, if it was an Airbnb, it's different. If it was a hotel, it's different.
Yeah.
But this is a fee based on how old this cabin is and how like your grandparents don't want to pay for all the maintenance.
Exactly. And it's almost like you're being, imagine someone comes up to you and your partner and is like, by the way, in 2 weeks, we're going to my family's cabin. I've made this decision. Yeah. Or I'm going to ask you, I'm going to be like, we really want you to go. I really want you to meet my parents and stuff.
But you have to pay $400.
It's $400.
And also, it's like, and it depends on like how many people are going. Like that's out of my control.
Exactly.
What if nobody comes? I have to pay what, like $600? Like
exactly.
What the fuck? And also, it's kind of like being like, oh, you're sleeping at my place like 5 times a week or 5 times a month. So you're gonna have to pay like for my
5 out of 30 days of the rent.
You know what I mean? Like that's
mortgage.
Kind of what it feels like. You know what I mean? It's
it
like,
feels dirty.
Yeah, it's just not.
Because like I'm sorry, like, and maybe this is a wrong way to look at it, but like if my partner's family or even my partner owns a cabin in the woods. Okay, you know what? If they fucking own a fucking cabin in the motherfucking woods.
Then what, Daniel?
I don't really feel like like the part of the benefit of owning a cabin in the woods is you don't have to pay accommodation costs.
Exactly. So why am I paying? That's another thing. It's like, I don't know. Like, I understand you're all part of the family and maybe you see the cabin as all of you own it.
But it is kind of theirs because at the end of the day, when the grandparents pass away, it's going to be inherited to them. So, so it's actually in their best interest. It's an investment for them.
Exactly.
For somebody coming on the outside, it's like, why am I paying this fee?
Yeah, exactly.
This is your family cabin.
Exactly.
It would be like, but it would be like, Rose, do you want to stay at my house for a week? Rose stays at my house, and I'm like, okay, by the way,
you're going to pay for my roof maintenance cost.
The roof is leaking. One of the windows is broken, and you have to pay.
Exactly. That's literally what it is.
But it is.
It's like maintenance costs.
Yeah.
It's like literally, it's like, oh my God, my toilet is actually, so, I've got a plumber coming in, so I would like you to pitch in for the plumber.
Like if a plumber was coming right now, you'd be like, oh, by the way, Daniel, you're here right now.
Yeah, because you're staying here with me.
Yeah,
like,
because you've used my shower a couple times.
Okay, it's not even a gray area. We've decided it's black and white. He's an asshole.
But it's like it's interesting because like I have friends, for example, that live out of town. I go and stay with them all the time. They stay at my house. Like I never once have I been like, oh, by the way, guys, cough up some money. You know what I mean? I'm not, you know, it's like
it's insane.
It's weird.
And it's his girlfriend. Come on.
I know. Especially like that's the thing. If anything, he should just pay for her.
Like are you this cheap? Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude?
Like, again, I think it's completely different if it's like you're going on a holiday.
Yes.
You booked it together.
Yes. I don't believe that a man should pay for it all. Like,
me neither. Like my man doesn't have to pay for it all. Don't worry. I'll pay for some
just for 80%, you know.
Yeah. 20% then
JK.
The other 30% will be made up in other favors, you know.
Oh, goddamn, Daniel. Anyway, this we've had a little too much to drink.
Oh, goddamn. You have.
Let me read the first comment because I think, again, we're in the majority here.
Okay.
You're the asshole. She's perfectly within her rights not to want to spend $200 to $400 for a weekend at a shared broken down cabin. Yeah, that's another thing. It sounds like a shithole. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, it's not like it's newly
leaky
renovated.
Roof,
yeah,
running.
Everything's fucking broken.
Yeah.
It's like obviously it needs like a big fucking renovation.
Yeah.
And it says, it's not her family's property. She has no emotional attachments to it, and she may never reap the benefits of fixing it up. Yes, that has 34,000 likes.
Holy shit. But it's true because it essentially, like, for him, like, okay, if it was like my grandparents' cabin, there's actually an not like saying this is why they're doing it, guys. Like, obviously they're helping their grandparents out and they love their grandparents, but there also is like a financial interest in a sense that like when the grandparents do pass on, as sad as that is, like that cabin will be passed down to the family, right? So like their investment that they put in that $200 or $400 every single season, it's gonna eventually pay them benefits as well later on. Either they use the cabin or maybe they sell it later.
And also, I don't even think that's necessary. Like, I would just be like, okay, it's my grandparents, so obviously I'm just helping out my grandparents.
Exactly.
Whereas like the new person I'm dating has not even met my grandparents.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? They're not gonna pay into my grandparents' fucking cabin.
I know.
That they've had for like 40 years. Like, what the fuck?
And also, like, not being funny, but like if the grandparents are at this point where the cabin is becoming derelict and they can't upkeep it, maybe there is the conversation to be like, you know, maybe another family member takes it on and buys it from them.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like, there's other things to be happening. It's like, if they can't afford to maintain this property, maybe they should think of offloading it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's that conversation as well. Anyway, that's kind of, I digress.
Okay, so I picked, I try to pick like top of the, anyway.
Oh my God.
Did you find one already?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I love this. We might just transform our fucking podcast.
I know they're actually so good.
I'm really enjoying this.
Update. Oh, I don't know if this
Don't read the update part. Just try to read the below part.
Oh.
The title. Oh my God.
I know. I saw this. I was like, oh shit.
Okay, read the title.
Am I the asshole for despising my mentally handicapped sister?
I want to say yes.
The title makes me sound horrible, but hear me out.
Okay, I'll give you a chance.
My sister is severely autistic. She requires attention almost 24/7 and cannot be left alone. She is nonverbal and cannot take care of herself at all. Despite the fact that she is only 12, she is extremely destructive and violent and destroys anything she gets her hands on. I hate her.
Oh my God.
That should be wrong to say, but it doesn't feel like it. I was only 6 years old when she was born, and since then, I've never solely had my parents' attention.
Okay, wait. So how old is she? She's 12.
So he must be 18.
He must be 18. He's quite young. Continue.
She was born, and since then, I've never solely had my parents' attention. Even since I can remember, the world has revolved around her. I was moved out of my room into the basement at 7 because she needed to be in the room next to my parents. All of my toys as a child were destroyed by her, and my parents simply ignored me when I complained. Even when I was 14, and she destroyed a Mac my school gave me, I was in the wrong. Along with this, I'm expected to take care of her and drop everything I do for her. I can never make plans with friends because my parents expect me to be there if they need me to take care of her. Even when I do somehow get time to myself, I am required to leave if they need me. If I do not, I'm punished. The recent example of this is when I went to see the new Spider-Man movie and was grounded because I turned off my phone in the theater. It seems as if I am nothing more than a slave to them, and anything involving her simply overshadows me. Last week, I was chosen to give a speech at a school event. I was so excited, and my parents promised to be there, but they never showed and claimed it was because of my sister. Anytime anything like this happens for me, they're too busy with her. I've held this in for so long, and it finally spilled out today. She's while talking about colleges with my father, he joked that I should get a degree that pays well, so when they're gone, I can take care of my sister. I don't know why, but this caused me to break down. I cried and screamed about how it's not always about her. I'm nothing more than a caretaker to them, that they always make it about her, and I'm expected to be her slave for the rest of my life. I've locked myself in my room since then, and my parents have not come to check on me. Am I the asshole here?
Okay, he's not the asshole.
But I think.
Oh my God, I want to cry for him.
I know, but I think also his anger is misdirected.
Yes.
He's saying, am I the asshole for hating my sister? It's not your sister, dude. It's your parents.
I know, but at the age of 18, it's like you are going to blame the sister, right? It's like you're not. I think at that age, it's like the parents are basically making him hate his sister.
Yeah.
Which is so fucked up.
But but parents like often do this.
And I like the thing is it's so hard to judge because obviously it's very difficult to have an autistic child, especially someone that's like, verbally, because obviously like, again, autism is like a spectrum. And some people are a lot more high functioning. Yeah. And obviously his sister isn't. But at the same time, and I know that it must be difficult, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously all their attention is on the, but at the same time, it's like you have to understand that you have two children.
You have another child. Yes. Yeah.
And the child also needs attention. The child also needs love and affection. And I don't blame him for feeling the way that he does, which I do agree that his anger shouldn't be directed toward his sister, but he's probably thinking you're the source of my problem.
Exactly. You're the reason for this.
Exactly.
When really, I mean, essentially she is, but she isn't, in a sense that like, yes, that's why, but also his parents shouldn't be reacting like that. They shouldn't be behaving like this.
So I think like I'm sure when he gets older, he'll probably realize like, okay, it's not my sister's fault. Yeah. But I think at that age, like when you're like, again, you're young and all you see is that your parents are just like in love with that's what he's thinking, right? Yeah. He's thinking, oh, my parents are just like obsessed with my sister. And at that age, you haven't fully developed the idea that like, okay, there's a reason for this, blah, blah, blah. My sister needs more attention, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You just think, oh, she's just stealing all the attention away from me.
Exactly. And you think, oh, this is now the focus of my parents, which obviously we're not discarding that it's difficult and that would be a really challenging situation to be in. But at the same time, like you do have to appreciate and understand, like you do have two children and like the importance of letting your second child that's like not maybe having these, having some mental health and all this kind of stuff, like do their thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think his anger is definitely misdirected and it should be more towards his parents for creating this dilemma because ultimately like really his sister hasn't done anything wrong.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like
it's not his
sister's
hasn't fault.
Exactly. Like she doesn't know like, and I'm sure like she doesn't want to be doing that and she doesn't know better. Right. Yeah. So like in my mind, she's innocent in all this. And it's the way that the parents, and again, it would be such a tough situation to be in, but it's the way that the parents are reacting and kind of putting all of this extra stuff on the sibling.
Oh God, that's honestly, I wanted to cry. Like you were reading it, I was like, oh my God, this poor kid.
Because the title of it, holy, I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, but it makes sense. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let me see some of the comments. And then people said, not the asshole. Yeah. People said, the first comment is, if you can, go to college far away. Time away on your own to be just you will be good. And then it says, because I think your dad was only half joking. What is this? Oh, maybe there was like was there something about his dad making a joke? Yeah,
his dad made a joke about him going to college.
Oh,
and he said like, oh, get a good job so you can pay for your sister when we're gone.
Because I think your dad was only half joking. At some time, you will want to have a conversation that they need to plan for the care of your sister in the future and make it clear that it is not you, especially if you feel the same way as you do now. I'm really sorry your parents didn't handle this better. And I hope that one day your anger moves away from your sister. Yeah, exactly. It's like...
Yeah. Because the sister hasn't done anything wrong.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But I think, again, at that age, when you're 18 or when you're younger than that, it's like, I think that's like a very normal reaction. I think a lot of kids, like I remember seeing this movie. It was like this Korean movie. It was actually very famous at the time. It was like very old. It's called Marathon. And it was based on a true story. And it was about a kid. It was like very much similar to this. Yeah. About a kid that had autism. And he was 20 something at this time, but he had the mental capacity of like, I don't know, like someone below the age of 10. But he was, because some autistic people have really good skills on certain things. Either they're really good at math or really good at something. And this kid was really good at running. And he was like, and they get very like focused
like
on certain
hyper
things.
focused.
Yes. Yeah. So he was like really, really into running. So he would do marathons. And his mom was very much focused on him, right? Because he was like very severely autistic. But then he had an older brother. And there's like a scene where like the older brother gets like, he's again a teenager. And the older brother, oh no, he had a younger brother. The younger brother's a teenager. And then this kid was the 20 something. And the younger brother has he has like a big fight with his mom because he's basically like, he's not the only child that you have.
You and I as well.
Goddamn tears. Goddamn. It's so sad because it's like, I get it. Like, and then I feel bad for the other sibling as well because the other sibling is thinking, oh, I need to always feel bad for my sibling. So I always have to be the bigger person. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie? This movie's really intense, guys.
I Am Sam? No.
No.
I know which one you're talking about.
My Sister's Keeper.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Oh God, tears.
That was an intense one.
And
I know. That was like one with the older sister. I think she was the older sister. Basically, they had another child, and the other child, the younger sister, was like a perfect medical match for the older sister.
Yeah.
And the older sister had so many health issues. So the younger sister, they were like, making her do like bone marrow transplants, blood transplants, like anything you could imagine to try to keep the older sister alive. And then the sad part was, I remember.
Are we going to give away the ending?
No, let's not.
Okay.
Guys, if you haven't seen it, watch My Sister's Keeper. It's
it was
super
so
sad. It's such a good movie though. It is actually really good.
A good movie. Yeah. I remember watching it and I'm pretty sure I bawled my eyes out.
Oh yeah, I that's one I can. That one and Stepmom. Oh.
I don't think I've seen Stepmom.
Oh God. I can't.
Tears?
Yeah.
Oh God.
There's one scene in Stepmom where basically the stepmom is
that the one with Julia Roberts?
Yeah, Julia Roberts and what's her name?
I know
Susan. Is it like Susan Sarandon? I think.
Yes. Yeah. I think so.
So there's one scene where they're sitting together and they're talking about like the kid's future and stuff.
Okay, maybe I'll watch it on a flight.
Oh God, it was.
Oh, I love a good crying movie on a flight. I cry like a fucking maniac.
Oh, you will. Oh my God, there's a couple scenes too where I can't give it away.
I mean, I don't know. You cry at a lot of movies. So
I do. I cry in like everything, guys.
Exactly.
Like I'm a very emotional person.
You are very emotional. Only in movies.
Only in movies. In real life.
In real life, you don't even listen to my problems.
No.
Anyway.
In real life, it's like one of our friends was like telling us about her problems, and I'm just like.
He's like, do I turn left here? I'm like, Daniel, can you listen? Like, she's going through a fucking like trauma.
I was listening, but also I was like, I need to figure out where we're going.
You definitely were not listening.
I needed to get to where we're going.
Sometimes he's just like on his phone. I'm like fucking like, pouring my heart out.
Okay, that's happened like once, Rose, and
it happens a lot.
Since then, I've been much better.
Anyway, oh my God, that was fun, guys. I think we're gonna continue this for the next one.
Oh God damn, is this what we're gonna do?
This is so entertaining.
I do. I actually really like them as well. They're like so fascinating.
Let us know if you're like bored of this because I think you're enjoying it.
Well, I mean, the next couple episodes you don't have a choice, so that's what's happening.
So we're gonna do part 3.
Oh God damn, we're gonna do part 3.
Wait, no, we're gonna do a September exclusive.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna record another one. That one is going to be our September exclusive for our Patreon. Okay. If you guys have not joined our Patreon, it is patreon.com/the SaVeg Podcast. Yep. We do bonus episodes for our patrons only every single month. And this month, we're going to continue the Am I the Assholes?
Yeah, we're going to do another Am I the Assholes? But also, guys, there's some really juicy ones on there. There's our dating stories.
Months,
there's some good stuff on there.
We have months and months of Patreon exclusive content that you can get if you join today. It starts at $3 a month only, okay? And you also get ad-free content.
Yep.
And every public episode a week earlier than everyone else. Yeah. So definitely join if you want to continue this Am I the Asshole content.
Yes.
Because I am like obsessed.
You're living for it. So part 3 will be on Patreon for September.
Yee!
As always, guys, if you're watching this video on YouTube, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Show us some love in the comment section below. Subscribe if you're not already. What are you doing? Also, check us out on your favorite podcast platform, whatever you're listening to your podcasts on. Hit that follow so you get updated whenever there's a new episode. Check out we have a TikTok at the SaVeg Podcast.
We do.
We also have Instagram at the SaVeg Podcast. Check it out, guys.
Yes, guys. Tell your friends, tell your family, and we will talk to you guys next week, I guess. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.